Hi, welcome back to the basement. I'm Steve Lewis. Today we'll conclude our look at the third quarter of 1968. We'll talk pretty extensively about the Beach Boys, but first we'll talk a little bit about television. There's a lot to get to, so let's get right to it. As usual, the months of July and August were not particularly eventful for television. It was limited summer series and repeats. When things really get interesting, as usual, is in September when the three networks unveil their new fall television seasons. On Monday, September 16th, on the season premiere of Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, Republican presidential candidate Richard Nixon appeared in a short clip saying, "Sock it to me." Laugh-In had also offered an appearance to Democratic candidate Hubert Humphrey. He declined. It offered Richard Nixon a rare opportunity to appear hipper than somebody else. 1 week later, on Monday, the 23rd of September, we got the premiere of Mayberry RFD. The series starred Ken Berry and the folks from Mayberry in Andy Griffith's old-time slot Monday nights after Lucy on CBS. Ken Berry was taking over as lead character in Mayberry for the departing Andy Griffith. Ensuring a smooth transition and big ratings, in tonight's first episode of the series, Andy and Helen Crump marry and then hang around for a couple of episodes before moving to Raleigh, ensuring a smooth transition to an Andy Griffithless Mayberry. Other notable shows premiering in September included Land of the Giants. From Irwin Allen, the producer who had brought us Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea and Lost in Space, comes another very budget-conscious fantasy sci-fi series on ABC Sundays just before The FBI. Kicking off Tuesdays on ABC ahead of It Takes a Thief was The Mod Squad, the adventures of hip undercover cops Pete, Link, and Julie. Tuesdays on NBC following The Jerry Lewis Show was a new sitcom, Julia, starring Diane Carroll as a nurse and single mother. Wednesdays on ABC kicked off with Here Come the Brides, a series that would soon make a teen idol out of young Bobby Sherman, and in an era of great TV show themes, this one featured one of my all-time favorites. Friday nights on NBC following High Chaparral came The Name of the Game, a crime series featuring one of three different lead actors each week, Gene Barry, Robert Stack, or Tony Franciosa, which was fine because a lot of people couldn't tell Gene Barry, Robert Stack, and Tony Franciosa apart anyway. And if you liked gravelly voices, this was the series for you. Kicking off Saturdays on NBC ahead of Get Smart came Adam 12, another police drama from Jack Webb's Mark 7 Productions, starring Kent McCord and Martin Milner. Milner drove the police cruiser on the show. He had spent 1960 to 1964 driving George Maharis on the Route 66 series. Milner said that part of the reason he got hired on Adam 12 was that he had learned on that series to hit a mark with a car and could drive into a close-up. The ever-practical Jack Webb realized it was a talent that would save time and money. Saturdays on NBC following Adam 12 and Get Smart was the new series The Ghost and Mrs. Muir. As usual, Saturday mornings were all about kids' TV, with shows designed to keep kids glued to the set and in their pajamas until lunchtime. Some notable new kids' TV shows that premiered in September included the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner Hour on CBS. That Oscar-winning rabbit, Bugs Bunny, had been running on Saturday morning since 1962. In this new configuration, Bugs shared top billing with the Roadrunner. The pairing would turn out to be very popular, and variations on the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner format would remain a staple of Saturday mornings for years. Immediately following Bugs and the Roadrunner was Hanna-Barbera's new Wacky Races, an animated show with enough crazy characters to fuel other eventual Saturday morning spin-offs, including Dastardly and Muttley and The Perils of Penelope Pitstop. Right after the Wacky Races on CBS came the new Archie Show, the first of many variations on Archie shows that would run on CBS Saturday mornings for nearly a decade. Naturally, the gang had also formed a rock group called the Archies. I remember joking that I was going to form a rock group and call it the Steves. Anyway, we'll talk more about the Archies when we get into 1969. Probably the most unusual and exciting new show was the Banana Splits Adventure Hour on NBC. It was a rare live-action series and, to date, the most expensive Saturday morning kids program ever produced. Stylistically, it featured wild mod colors that were so much a part of 1968 and was sort of a kid's version of Laugh-In, with 4 characters in costumes, Fleagle, Bingo, Drooper, and Snorky, who did comedy shtick and introduced short cartoons, including, in that first season, The Arabian Nights and The Three Musketeers. The coolest segment in that first season was a short, live-action adventure serial, Danger Island, in which castaways Morgan and Chongo joined forces with archaeologist Dr. Hayden, his daughter Julie, and his assistant Link to battle evil pirate captain Mutan and the head-hunting skeleton men in search of the lost city of Tubanya. The Banana Splits costumes were designed by Sid and Marty Krofft. Live-action Saturday morning shows would become more prevalent and popular over the next few years, with Sid and Marty Krofft creating many of those shows. A little later on in the early afternoon over on ABC, you could still catch Happening 68, hosted by Mark Lindsay and Paul Revere and the Raiders, which had premiered back in January. Produced by Dick Clark, it was similar to his earlier series, Where the Action Is, which also featured Paul Revere and the Raiders. There were regular music features and guests, both rock musicians and more mainstream celebrities like Don Adams and Joey Bishop. The Beach Boys made a filmed appearance on the show on August 17th, miming To Do It Again and Wake the World. There's a fairly poor quality, though still really interesting version of it available here on YouTube. It looks like a great film, and I hope a decent version of it becomes available someday. Of course, those 2 tracks were the A and B side of the new Beach Boys single, which had been released only 2 weeks after the Friends album on July 8th. Do It Again would peak at number 20 on the charts beginning September 14th. That was 1 position lower than Darlin' had peaked earlier in the year. Do It Again did go to number 1 in the UK, however. There were a couple of other Beach Boy releases in August. On August 5th, we got The Best of the Beach Boys Volume 3. It would peak at 158 on the chart on September 28th. And on August 19th, Stacko Tracks, famous as the only new Beach Boy release to completely miss the charts until Summer in Paradise in 1992. I understand a lot of stores never even carried it. It's such an unusual release that it's really hard to know how an album like this should have performed on the charts. Of course, it's the original recordings minus the vocals, which must have seemed kind of odd to a lot of people at the time, as great vocals were the first thing most people thought of when they thought about the Beach Boys. In the 60s, this represented a rare opportunity to hear the music tracks in detail, something we've gotten a lot of in the last couple of decades and kind of take for granted now. This was pretty unique and, for serious Beach Boy fans, must have been great. The album came with a booklet of sheet music and a chart of guitar chords, which would have been really nice for somebody learning to play guitar. By all accounts, the record was purely Capitol's idea, and they chose the tracks. It seems to have been conceived as a way to get some Beach Boy product out, since it was becoming clear there wouldn't be another new Beach Boy album for quite a while. Also, with their post-66 records not selling well, it provided a way to revisit the hits era without doing another greatest hits package. That said, rather surprisingly, 3 of the 15 tracks are recent. Darlin' and Do It Again each kick off a side, and Wild Honey is also included despite only hitting number 31. Looking at the track selection, it looks like a conscious effort to mix it up, including a few of the biggest hits, some of the better-known album tracks, tracks as old as Surfer Girl, and as recent as the new single Do It Again. Some of the tracks you'd expect and want to be there aren't, like Good Vibrations and California Girls. Of course, I have no idea about the exact thought process that went into selecting the tracks. Striking a balance between big hits and secondary tracks might have been done in order to make it seem less like a rehash of a greatest hits album. Including some newer tracks among the old tracks might have been done in hopes of interesting a few more people in the Beach Boys' new music. I wouldn't be surprised if some of it just came down to which tapes were handy. If anybody has any insights or thoughts on this album, I would love to hear them. The Beach Boys spent almost all of August and July touring in the US and in Canada. The hippie commune, The Family, and their leader, Charles Manson, were still living in Dennis's rented house on Sunset. They were spending Dennis's money freely, and seemingly he was spending his money freely on them. Dennis's association with The Family that spring and summer reportedly cost him around $100,000. It was completely unsustainable, and the welcome was quickly worn out. While the Beach Boys were away on tour in August, Dennis had his friend Greg Jacobson move him out of the Sunset house and left it to Beach Boy management to kick The Family off of the property. While on the road that summer, the Beach Boys taped a number of television appearances, including the Happening 68 appearance that we talked about, also for the Dick Cavett Show, The Tonight Show, and the Mike Douglas Show. Not all of their concerts were selling out, some were sparsely attended, and there were some complaints about the length of their 40-minute show. By 1968, rock shows were getting to be sort of an hour and a half, 2 hours, and 40 minutes at this time wasn't seeming like that good a value. Despite not always playing to packed houses, the summer touring was apparently relatively successful, which must have come as a relief after the money-losing debacles in April and May. I picked up a copy of the Beach Boys tour program from that summer. Seems like they were giving pretty good value on the tour program, at least. There's lots of photos, lots of narrative, though most of it, unsurprisingly, isn't all that enlightening. It talks about how long-lasting their appeal has been, how they continue to innovate, the special connection they have with their fans, and some vague information about their hobbies. At one point, it does claim that the Beach Boys are the #1 consumers of auto equipment among the entertainment set. That's auto as in cars, not audio. And with entertainers out there at the time like Paul Newman and Steve McQueen, that's a pretty impressive claim. There's a big fold-out poster, which I haven't removed, and 2 of what they call inverticubes, which are these, according to the instructions, you cut these out, pictures of the Beach Boys, and then you fold them up into what they call an inverticube. You've got different pictures on each side. Of course, this would be a pyramid rather than a cube. And there's a second one here that also, I guess that would be what, a tetrahedron or something? But anyway, it was kind of an unusual thing. You could cut these out apparently and lay them on your desk or something. It's got a little quiz here about matching the Beach Boy with the classic car that they own. More narrative. And then here at the back, you can join the Beach Boys fan club, which in 1968 cost $2. And I wonder what you got for that $2 back in '68. I'd really like to know. Anyway, thought that was kind of interesting. That will bring us to the end of the third quarter of 1968. Hope you've enjoyed this. Glad we got to talk about the Beach Boys a little bit. Next time we'll begin winding up with the fourth quarter of 1968. We'll talk in that quarter about the records and music and television, things like that. Then we'll do a second part, winding up with what the Beach Boys were up to, bringing us to a close finally on the year 1968. Hope you enjoyed this. I would love to hear your comments, particularly on the Stack of Tracks album, which is still kind of a mystery to me. Love to hear the feedback. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time. Bye.